want to agree with that.
Yeah, I love weather.
Trending music.
I live the life that I love. I love the life that I live. Tomorrow.
Traffic updates.
Ojaoba and Charity intersections is good. There's no cause for alarm.
Sports. And everything fun is right here on mainland 98.3 FM. Don't touch that dial.
Dear Nigerians, I am determined, I repeat, to give you the affordable and reliable power.
The stakes are higher than ever.
Government policy does not support youth in this country. So if you say you have any idea, one day, one way or the other.
The conversations are louder than imagined. The expectations are greater. The demand for quality blueprints needed to make informed decisions is constantly being reviewed.
You can't start hiding under party or anything. We are leaders that are entrusted by our people. Come and speak on their behalf.
The Situation Room on 98.3 Mainland FM provides the platform where all of your demands are met. Issue-based conversations about politics, policies, leadership and governance in Nigeria and around the world. Join us every Mondays through Fridays from 4 p.m. to 5 p.m. as we engage and interact towards setting the agenda for proper accountability and public engagements. The Situation Room is here. We welcome the roommates.
Okay, a very good evening to you. Welcome to the midweek edition of the Situation Room on Mainland 98.3 FM, the sound of Lagos. I want to trust your week and your day has been going on very well. Well, my name is Opeyemi Akinyode, and it gives me so much pleasure to have you join us on the show today. This is the Situation Room, live on Mainland 98.3 FM, the sound of Lagos. And this program comes up on airwaves every Mondays to Fridays from 4 to 5 p.m. And what we basically do on the show is we look at policies, politics generally. We look at leadership and governance. We look at those things, those conversations that in its own way affect our daily existence. And when I mean policy, I'm talking about the policies of the government, which ultimately is supposed to improve the quality of lives and existence of the people. So we bring all of those conversations straight to the table so that we can cross-fertilize ideas. We can mix emotions with reasoning, especially as we bring the very best of analysts, public affairs analysts, seasoned analysts, experts in any of the fields that we get to decide to focus on for that particular day. So it's always my pleasure, and on the turn of 4:30 would always open the phone line for you to join the conversation with your calls or your text messages. It's been a very, very interesting week so far. Yesterday, I had the Ààrẹ Ọ̀nà Kakanfò of Yoruba who, after the annulment of the June 12, 1993 election, things that general elections that we just finished. I mean, and of Trinity also, we had His Royal Majesty Mohammed Bambado. That's the ceremony. Just look at how some of those institutions. Is a lawyer, is a public affairs analyst, and I introduce him very shortly. But I want to play you two inserts, and these are the voices. Said leadership election into the 10th Assembly was held. And the Delta one-time senator, returning senator, that's distinguished Senator Godswill Akpabio, emerged as the president of the Nigerian Senate to lead the 10th Assembly. And of course, The Deputy Senate President is Senator Jibrin Barau, and in the House of Representatives, that's the Green Chamber, we had, Right Honorable, he was Honorable, now he's Right Honorable Tajuddin Abbas emerged as the Speaker, and Right Honorable Benjamin Kalu as the Deputy Speaker. These four people are the candidate of the ruling APC. Remember, a couple of months back, the zoning conversation started where the National Working Committee of the APC decided to zone these key positions and even micro-zoned it. Well, all of those conversations went on, but yesterday it didn't go unopposed. Even though you want to look at the open, ballots that we had in the House of Representatives, where you had to openly stand up and mention who you are voting for. I mean, just 6 votes went away from Right Honorable Tajuddin Abbas. 3 went to Honorable Jaji, 3 went to Honorable Idris Wase, and the other numbers, 353, went to the Speaker. But for the Senate, quite keenly contested, depending on your understanding of that. Well, the former governor of Zamfara State, His Excellency Abdulaziz Yari, insisted on contesting, campaigned and contested, but he lost yesterday. So we have a Senate President and we have the Speaker of House of Representatives. The next stop is the presentation of the kitchen cabinet of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. I will play you an insert now. The voice of the Speaker of the House of Representatives and the Senate President, so that we can pick the conversation from there. This is the Situation Room live on mainland 98.3 FM, and we're streaming this program live, by the way. So you can go on Facebook, facebook.com/mainland 98.3 FM. You can go on Twitter as well. We have bite of it. And on YouTube, mainland 983. You can search that and view us live. Then you can also drop your comment. We take the comment, we pick the calls, then we get the conversation going. I will play you the insert that's the voice of the Senate President and the Speaker of the House of Representatives. Then we get back into the conversation. Don't go nowhere. Keep your dial locked on mainland 98.3 FM.
Shall do everything possible to ensure that we meet the aspirations of Nigerians. We hold public hearings before we take any decision. It will be the decision of Nigerians for the betterment of Nigeria. We think Nigeria first. Every senator, irrespective of political party, must come into the chambers as a senator of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. And so we have a lot to do. We must assist the President Bola Ahmed Tinubu to put the right policies in place by our own, putting the right legislations in place to make sure that business thrives and we create employment opportunities for Nigerians. And I assure you that every senator is important, and there's no political party once I'm inside there. Everybody is important, and all political parties shall be carried along.
After the event, which you all witnessed, we had a close hand with the Chief of Staff, and we had a useful discussion with Mr. President. And the outgoing Senate President has also committed to working. So it is a very big development that the political harmony will eventually guide tomorrow's process. So the political party, which is APC, working with other political parties, because what is at stake is national interest, the interest of our country, and how to ensure that the new president is supported to succeed. All over Africa, Nigeria is being looked upon, that this time around we should produce a very strong president who will be bold and courageous in character, who will be able to deliver Nigeria to our usual space of being the leader of the continent. So we don't want to allow any domestic distraction to his wisdom. Organize a small committee, technical committee, to help coordinate the process of tomorrow's election, which by my position as the chairman of Progressive Governance Forum, I'm chairing that technical committee. And the work, we have done so much work to the extent that God.
This victory is not just about me. It is all about us coming together as a united house to serve the Nigerian people diligently. It is about honoring the trust that has been placed on us and working tirelessly to deliver on our promises of good governance and effective representation. It is worthy to note that the speakership campaign witnessed in the past few months was democracy at play. But today, all of that has come to pass, and it is time to forge ahead and work together for our people, for their uncommon good. I do not take this mandate bestowed on me as the Nigerian Speaker for granted. I want to assure you today that I shall be just and fair to every one of you, irrespective of perceived differences. I shall operate a house that you will be proud of. I shall be guided by the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria and the House rules. Our doors will be open for members of APC, PDP, Labour Party, NNPP, APGA, SDP, ADC, and YPP, as we strongly believe nation building is a joint task. My dear colleagues, those of us that were privileged to serve in the just concluded 9th House of Representatives will attest to the fact that appreciable successes have been recorded under my predecessor, Right Honorable Femi Hakim Bajabiamila, who from tomorrow will assume office as the Chief of Staff to the President, Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces, Federal Republic of Nigeria. I would like to congratulate him for finishing his tenure in success and for his new national assignments. The former Speaker remains a great Nigerian whose service to fatherland in the past 20 years as a legislator is unmatched. I commend him for his sacrifices for Nigeria and his support for the new 10th House of Representatives. Honorable colleagues, under my watch, the 10th House shall sustain and even surpass the gains of the 9th Assembly. That's my prayer. We shall carry out the task before us jointly. We shall introduce reforms and innovations for the benefit of Nigerians. In the few weeks, we shall be reeling out the legislative agenda that will shape the 10th House of Representatives. We shall work closely and interdependently with the executive and judiciary to give Nigerians the good governance they deserve. We shall stand at a crucial juncture in our nation's history where challenges are abound, but so do opportunities.
You're listening to Mainland 98.3 FM.
Okay, welcome back to the Situation Room on Mainland 98.3 FM, the sound of Lagos. I decided to play you those sound bites so that you understand, the mentality that the leadership of the just inaugurated 10th Assembly is coming with. You heard what, especially the Speaker of the House of Representatives, Right Honorable Tajudeen Abbas, said. He talked about carrying everybody along, irrespective of your political party, whether you're in ANPP, you're in Labour Party, you're in ADC, you're in YPP, you're an APC or PDP. The most important thing is that everybody needs to be on deck. All hands needs to be on deck. Everybody's opinion needs to, matter at this point, so that the ultimate purpose of which all of them have been sent to the National Assembly is to provide quality, laws that would help Nigerians to achieve the dividends of democracy. Now, I would introduce my guest, and he's already seated with me in the studio. Well, I have Barrister Abiodun Bakare. He is a legal practitioner and a public affairs analyst. He's going to help us to understand some of these issues. A lot had happened in the last 2 weeks, that we have a new president between 29th of May and today. I mean, it looks like he's been here forever. Good evening, Barrister Abiodun Bakare. Good to have you join us on the show today.
Good evening to you, Opeyemi. Glad to be here with you.
Okay, the last time you joined us on the show, it was via phone.
Yes.
And then we talked about how everything. By the way, you can follow us on our social media platforms on Facebook, facebook.com/mainland 98.3 FM. You can watch us live. We're streaming this program as we do to some of our, other programs as well. So let's get straight up into the conversation. We had the election of the 10th Assembly yesterday. By the way, on the show today, we'll focus more on setting agenda for the newly inaugurated 10th Assembly. And we've looked at the executive. The judiciary seems to be a ward on its own, which is, the pool that you play from, by the way. It looks like it's not open to public scrutiny, by the way. So let's get straight up into it. The composition of the 10th Assembly yesterday came with its own dramas, because the National Working Committee of the ruling APC and in their own wisdom zoned the leadership of the House to the south-south, to the northwest, to the north-central, and to the northeast. You look at that composition. Now let's talk about expectations. We saw the 9th Assembly. They had over 2,000 motions and bills discussed on the floor of the House. In fact, it's on record that over 1,000 bills were, forwarded to the table of the former President Muhammadu Buhari, but he signed only 129 of those bills into law. Now, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu had been signing some of these bills, the Electricity Act, the student loan, all of these coming together. Can you talk to us about the weight of expectations that you think this 10th Assembly is coming with, Barrister Bakare?
Thank you so much, Opeyemi. I'm glad to be here once more. I can tell you authoritatively that Nigerians are highly expectant. It's not unusual. Nigerians are politically savvy. Let me use that word, that term. And the expectation is high. Nigerians easily. It seems to me they have let go the pains of the past administration, and they are looking forward to a better economic and political atmosphere under this new government. So, for the expectations of Nigerians, I can tell you that it is full of hope, full of optimism, full of energy, and so on and so forth. But as to whether Nigerians will get
those hopes
a positive response to that or those expectations is a story for another day. But my take, both for the executive led by President Tinubu and for the 10th National Assembly now under the watch of Gospel Akpabio, I will just remain hopeful like every other Nigerian, and watch closely how things unfold. But my singular advice, especially to the members of the National Assembly, is that they should not hide under their political party to disappoint Nigerians. They should not hide under the umbrella of not specifically to PDP. I understand. The umbrella of the party to perpetuate imperfection and incompetence, and then just play along and hide along the pathway that has been created by their political party. So we expect them to be dutiful. We expect them to be frank. I expect the 10th National Assembly to be up and doing when it is needed. They should be bold enough to deny what should be denied and approve what should be approved. Of course, Nigerians have forgotten. It doesn't matter yet. We hope it will not get to the level where you and I will have to be asked to contribute certain amount of money to pay up our debt. Because the previous administration, the 9th Assembly was just approving whatever Mr. President asked for, because it was more of a political issue than a Nigerian issue. I heard the Chief of Army Staff, was it the Chief of Defense Staff this morning, pledging allegiance to Mr. President. That's not what the law requires. Allegiance of our armed forces and any other person in a position of authority is to the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, 1999 as amended, not to any person. So whatever interest you intend to protect, whatever gain you intend to get along this political atmosphere that will last us for another 4 years, if we don't get
if the court does not say otherwise.
Whatever it is that you are out for this time should be for the protection, for the preservation of the dignity of the Nigerian state. It should not be about person. We have gone past that. So that would be my advice to the 10th National Assembly. And luckily, Gospel Akpabio is lawyer, and I'm sure he understands the fact that we are interested more in the process rather than in the conclusion, because law, the process of law, is what enriches it. So the National Assembly must ensure that Nigerian people are protected through the process, not necessarily protected when you just want to give us an impression that you are working, and then what can they do? The process must reveal the fact that they are interested in protecting Nigeria.
Now, Barrister Bakare, let me pick from what you just said. You talked about the fact that approve what should be approved and challenge what should be challenged. Now, one of the bigger fears, which I also think I share, I'm a Nigerian by the way, is the fact that the independence of the 10th Assembly, how much do you think they can enjoy that level of, I'm not saying, being confrontational as such, but in a situation where we have the National Working Committee of the party already literally choosing who becomes, when you zone positions and then you micro-zone into a space, and then, you say, okay, we're zoning the Senate President to the South, and it's only one candidate that's coming from the South. You're zoning Senate President to the North Central, and it's only one candidate that's coming from. It's literally saying, this is the candidate and that is the candidate. In this situation, do you think that the 10th Assembly, the last assembly under the leadership of Senator Ahmed Lawan, said whatever the president brings is the father of the nation, which I totally disagree with. The president of Nigeria is not the father of the nation. He's a public servant that is being paid salaries with taxpayers' money. So we need to take that off our mind. But then the immediate past Senate president said whatever Mr. President brings, as long as it's in the interest of Nigerians, they would approve. And we saw a lot of such. In fact, loans were collected before the approval was granted on the floor of the House. We saw all of that.
Yes.
Do you trust this 10th Assembly enough to be able to, not, let me use the word, call the bluff of the executive? They have the constitutional right to do that. Do you trust them enough to do that? To tell Mr. President, this is where to draw the line. This is not going to be approved going forward.
Section 4 of the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, and then Section 5, which also gives legislative power to the National Assembly, emphasize independence. So the argument or the discussion is not whether they should be independent, whether the National Assembly should be independent. Actually, they are supposed to be independent. But politics often mix up issues. And when politics clash with law, usually law suffers. And it has always played out in the Nigerian political atmosphere. How much of independence do you expect from a National Assembly that even from the period of primaries prior to the election, it has been, you step down, you don't worry, you go. That has been the pattern here. I'm not talking of election on the floor of the National Assembly. I'm talking about general election. I'm talking about general election and how these individuals emerged. We all know of all the pre-election litigation in court, challenging the whether one person is qualified, or whether one person is a member of their political party. So we have all those shenanigans politically going on. And it seems Nigerians have accepted it as a way of life. The argument is in twofold. Some say, it is also democratic and a show of independence. If the political party can say, we are taking this office to this zone, what more of politics what more of independence or democracy do you expect than that? But I am of the view that the independence of the National Assembly is purely when things are done on the floor of the House without influence of the executive. So, if you agree with that simple definition of independence, then you can give yourself an answer to all that has been transpiring in the Nigerian context when it comes to offices and appointment in the National Assembly. The president has an interest, but the president's interest, because these people are voted in by Nigerians just like the same way that they voted in Mr. President. So it is the will of the people that should prevail. That's the independence. It is the will of the people. So what it ordinarily should mean to me is that you have this position, and then with the National Assembly members within themselves feel that, the last National Assembly, this person from here held this position, and the Nigerian people will feel that they can have that internal arrangement, but it should be within themselves. It should not be a matter of the president or the vice president or whoever highly placed in the political party giving. And when you direct an office to a particular zone, and you have a station where only one person
has shown interest from that zone,
and then when any other member of the party say, no, I can't, I feel I'm better off, I'm qualified, I have the zeal, I can deliver this job, then they remind him of whether he has CFCC case, whether he has ICPC case,
I saw that coming.
and then you are still talking about independence. So the issue of independence of the National Assembly has a fundamental question mark. Looking at the process, I'm not talking about the individual persons. I'm talking about the process. So Nigerians should just hope, like we continue to hope, like we like to hope. We hope that this one will be different. But if you ask me personally, I'm not going to expect any kind of difference. It's going to be political party interest, party protection, personality protection, personality interest. You remember the National Assembly told Nigerians that they don't want to embarrass Mr. President. So Mr. President is so vulnerable that they needed to shield him
from embarrassment.
That's the mindset of a National Assembly. But with all the shielding of Mr. President, Mr. Former President from so-called embarrassment, what more embarrassment are we in now as a nation? Where you have a former Mr. President alleged to have signed the NDIC Act that was presented to him that is different from the one that was passed by the National Assembly. What is more embarrassing than that? So you have a former president who is not thorough because a group of people wants to protect him so that he's not embarrassed. You have a former national president that was told about Air Nigeria, and we all know the story around Nigeria. The conclusion to me is that the conclusion now is that we should have a National Assembly that should not see the president as a baby that deserves their kind of
pampering.
Mummies. That's not the politics we need. The solution to Nigerian problem is a serious one, and we need serious-minded people deep into the heart of an average Nigerian. The fuel subsidy removal. So I want and I expect a National Assembly that is forthright, that is strict when they need to, that should be able to question Mr. President or the executive, as the case may be. I don't want a National Assembly that cannot even invite a minister, that cannot even invite the president,
or the head of departments, agencies.
It was an argument when the National Assembly then. 9th Assembly wanted to invite Mr. President. The argument. What kind of democracy do we practice? That you have the representative of the people who can't summon the president, who the people with their sovereignty in their hand gave the mandate to lead them. So it's a contradiction of terms.
Okay, we'll come to that, especially on the issue of public trust. You made mention of the Nigerian Air conversation. We'll come to that very soon. But now, let's talk about the expectations again. And what I mean is this: the responsibility of the government is to protect the lives and properties of the people. That's the principal responsibility. And if you look at what the law expects from the legislators, it is to make laws for the executive to execute. And in this case, we often talk about interest. We often talk about how people get this job done. Now that we have the 10th Assembly in place, Nigerians are expecting Mr. President to present his kitchen cabinets, the ministers. And we saw the last administration of Muhammadu Buhari that took about 6 months into his administration to set up his cabinet in 2015. And when he won the re-election in 2019, it took him about another 4 months to bring up his cabinet. And 80% of the people that served in the first term were recycled in the second term. So Nigerians were wondering what took him so long to present the same set of people, almost for the same offices. How much do you think President Bola Ahmed Tinubu getting his cabinet right. Now, he has said a lot of things. On the 29th of May, he talked about his speech. I think you've joined us to analyze that. On day before yesterday, he talked about Nigerians making more sacrifices. He talked about Nigerians won't be disappointed in the sacrifices they've made and all of that. But all of these policies, all of these expectations, it boils down to how Mr. President is able to share the vision amongst the people he's working with in his cabinet, the ministers. How important do you think getting his cabinet right, putting the right people at the right place is for him to make progress?
One gift that followers and supporters of Mr. President claim that he has is the ability to identify good hands. They often cite Lagos as an example. They cite Abiodun, they cite Barrister Fashola, they cite the former Interior Minister and all sorts. Well, I know for sure that Tinubu has been in this political game for a long while. So I don't expect him to recycle people who have been in the system 25 years, 27 years, and here we are as a nation. We are extremely indebted. There's poverty. If you have a situation where 133 million Nigerians are living below poverty, so there should be a reason why Mr. President should introduce a new dimension in the formation of his cabinet this time. Posterity will really judge him on that. I would have expected him to bring in, because I don't even know who is old, who is young, and because age often does not determine capacity. So I'm not going to argue on the basis of let them be younger, let them be older. No, I don't. It doesn't matter. But I want capable hands. I want people who have a full grip of the information and the ingredient about that ministry that they are going to head. For example, under the former administration, a man who stayed longer in the office of the Minister for Education came to tell us how he was just making choices and taking decisions based on background knowledge.
That's Adam.
So we don't need that. We need competent people. Competency, to my understanding, is understanding of the field or the ministry that you want to head. For example, if anybody is going to the Ministry of Justice, it's not just because that is my constituency. I don't expect the person to be just a person full of the knowledge of law. It's gone beyond that. It must be an individual who himself has gone through the ranks here in Nigeria. You don't just go to somebody who study in UK, study in Australia, and bam, it's a Minister for Justice. Because the issues are based on experience. Whatever you're going to solve in the Ministry of Justice, for example, it has to be based on those things you have experienced yourself in the course of judicial practice. So competence will mean having a full grip of the challenges, the need, the desire of that ministry at this particular time. If you're going to give somebody, for example, aviation, and then what should be the basic capacity of a Minister of Aviation? It should be somebody who, in my opinion, has run business, because aviation is purely business. It has nothing to do with connection, relationship. It's business acumen to be able to put things together and give us, for example, a Nigerian Airways. If at all the public opinion is that we need one. So Mr. Tinubu must go for capacity, purely capacity, and it could be somebody who is younger. Could be somebody who is older, but I'm optimistic because of his past antecedent and his background and his long-term experience. I'm sure he knows better in this regard, because whatever team is able to put together will determine the failure or the success of his administration.
Thank you very much. Well, in case you're just tuning in, excuse me, you're live on Mainland 98.3 FM, and this is the Situation Room. I've been speaking with Barrister Abiodun Bakare. He's a public affairs analyst. He's a legal practitioner, obviously. And, we're looking at a certain agenda for the 10th Assembly. It's talked about competence. It talks about capability. It talks about credibility. People should have, quality and reliable, track records to get into public offices. And he had also explained to us the need for President Bola Ahmed Tinubu to get his kitchen cabinet right now. And let's talk about some of the policies that President Bola Ahmed Tinubu has brought up. Maybe we should focus more on the student loan conversation. Being a student, I remember that set of the most difficult times for me was when I was doing my postgraduate, when I was doing my master's. It was really tough because obviously it became more expensive, it became more demanding, it became more time consuming. There was so much expectation. But the loan issue, there seems to be a lot of complex explanation around it, and maybe you want to take us through that process. And one of the things that a lot of people are questioning is how workable is this loan, especially in an economy where unemployment is on a record high, over 40% unemployment rate, and even the 60% is not like fully employed. We have about 63.5% underemployed rate in this country, and the loan says you would start making payment 2 years after your NYC. Barrister Bakare,
yes,
talk to us about the student loan and how workable is it.
First, I appreciate Mr. President's desire to make impact into our lives as students, for those who are students, undergraduates of federal institutions. But I feel that the act wasn't thought through. It was hasty. First, I must let Nigerians know that student loan is not new. Student loan policy is not just new. We have had the experience before, and it ended up in indebtedness. But it's a good idea. We need a form of support. Students need a form of support. But for me, I feel it should not be through this process. Section 3 of the Student Loan Access to Higher Education Act, recently signed by Mr. President, discriminated against certain groups of Nigerians. Section 3 says the loan. Okay, first let me read Section 3. We talk about the fact that the loan, the so-called loan, is only for a purpose. The loan referred to in this act shall be granted to students only for the payment of tuition fees. So Nigerians must understand that it is a loan to help you pay tuition fee. Whether it's going to be outrightly all the tuition fee for all the 5 years or 4 years, or it's going to be instrumental. But the act discriminates against Nigerians. If tested, in my opinion, it will fall flat under the force of Section 42, subsection 1B and subsection 2 of the Constitution. Because what it means is that if my parents annually cannot boast of 500,000 naira, then I'm entitled to get the loan. So if my father can boast of 650 annually, I'm not entitled to the loan. That is discriminatory. So, while the idea is good, I will ordinarily suggest that because Nigerians are already celebrating, students are already celebrating. America, that is the champion of student loan, are having over $150 billion indebtedness on student loan, student collected loan, and can't repay back. President Joe Biden is already thinking of what do you call it?
Loan wiping off the loans.
The loan, and it's a matter for argument right now in the United States of America. Why the idea of helping students is good and should be supported. I think the government can come in a more broader way, in such a way that it will capture the larger number of the people. Why not just create a subsidy scheme where you can subsidize tuition fee for everybody?
But do you also know that education is being subsidized in Nigeria in terms of the PTF, the ITF?
They can do more now because this act. Yes, I know, because this act is making it very clear that the loan is purely for the payment of your tuition fee. So if government is already subsidizing education, which we enjoyed it. I enjoyed it as a student of the University of Lagos. Our tuition fee was, in fact, I think as at that time there was no tuition fee. It was later it was introduced. So, but I'm suggesting that tuition fee student can be subsidized further, wherein if, for example, you are an undergraduate of the University of Lagos and the tuition fee is 100,000, for example, government says, okay, go look for 20,000. We'll pay 80, and it cut across the entire federation, all students in federal university, so that this discriminatory language of those who are qualified to enjoy this loan in this new act will be taken care of. That is one. Two, what is actually the problem with the Nigerian education? Is it purely issue of fund? Yes, funding is an issue. The idea of also making more people get education is also, which is what this act, that is the part this act is trying to address. A situation where more indigent people can access education without passing through financial burden. That's what this act. But that is just one aspect, one minor aspect of the problem of education in Nigeria. You have the issue of curriculum. You have the issue of
even grants, research and grants,
teacher quality. You have the issue of the managers of the universities, like the hassle lingering issue. So we have all facets of educational problem in Nigeria. So if the government is taking one aspect of, say, allow more people have access, and then you are coming to use this act to take care of that, it's a good idea. But why not look at the issue holistically?
Maybe it's a work in progress.
But no work can be in progress, because I speak as a lawyer when it is discriminatory. Section 42 of the Constitution is supreme, and nobody on the basis of anything should be discriminated against. Anything in the sense that, particularly in this regard, Section 42 subsection 2 will render this act, if tested. I use the word if tested. So Nigerian listeners should know that we are assessing it this way, not because we disagree with them enjoying loan. No. But like I just said, I prefer an alternative in such a way that, why not let it be that everyone enjoys it? So if my father can hand ₦1 million, who told you that I don't have any other problem because my father hands £1 million?
So I told him my father doesn't have things to do with his money.
So I don't have other needs because my father hands 1 million. So you remove, you cut me off those who are supposed to benefit from loan. So the act needs some kind of fine tuning, but the idea is good. It's part of the promises President Tinubu gave us during his campaign. So we welcome it, but there should be something that should bind us more together as a people rather than divide us. This Student Loan Access to Higher Education Act 2023, in my opinion, is discriminatory, and it paints the picture in section, if I have the time, in section, I think 15 or 16, it paints the picture as though the reference to 2 years after NYC means that the government will provide the job for the person.
Maybe.
Because it means that everyone who must have gotten this loan must start working 2 years immediately after NYC. But that is not realistic in itself. It is not. And that's why I feel that we need to do, if it is work in progress, fine. But nothing should be to the extent that it conflicts with the provision of the Constitution. If we have such law, such acts, such enactment, it fails and falls immediately on the altar of the provision of this Constitution.
Okay, that's like you said. If it gets tested, yes. I understand. The phone lines are buzzing already, and I'm already seeing messages on our social media platform, facebook.com/mainland 98.3 FM. I've been speaking with Barrister Abiodun Bakare. He's a legal practitioner, he's a public affairs analyst, and we've looked at a lot of other things beyond even what the conversation was centered around today. We focused on the inauguration of the 10th Assembly, the expectations, and he's quite optimistic that if the right people are picked, especially with the cabinet of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, then they would be able to help him drive his aspirations, to bring renewed hope to Nigerians. It's very important, by the way. 0913-600-0410. It's time for you to join the conversation. Talk to us, send us messages, and also comment on our social media platform, facebook.com/mainland 98.3 FM, and on YouTube, mainland 983 FM. Drop a comment, we take them, and we read your messages, and we read your calls as well. On Facebook, Wasiu Lawa says, the former Senate President Bukola Saraki that wasn't a rubber stamp. What was his achievement and his contribution to the national development? It's better for Pabio to be rubber stamp for a new era of our dream. Okay, Ola Oshibikon, Ola, you also referenced. Thank you. AB Agombo Jr. says, well, I feel that this government will do well, despite Nigerians are not inclusive, not giving them any chance. But I'm having a vision that they will surprise us lately. God bless Nigeria and God bless the Federal Republic. Okay, God bless Lagos, God bless Plateau State, and God bless Nigeria. I know where that message is coming from. Now to the phone lines. Hello, good evening.
Hello, good evening.
Your name and where are you calling from?
Okay, my name is Bakare. I'm calling from Papa.
You're welcome.
Yeah. On this issue of the 10th Assembly, what me I'm more concerned about is their oversight functions on the NDAs. Because that's where the problem is. There are more corruption in the NDAs, and the National Assembly are not helping matters. I think they can do very good. I mean, they can give out their best in terms of their oversight functions. It will be very, very good. On the issue of this student loan or the educational bank or this, my major concern here is the board, because this thing is going to operate under a board. I think I'm more concerned about the structures. We shouldn't end up here mark particularly like a 10 billion for the education, 1 billion at least it was designed to be now. It says 1 billion for a taker. 1 billion, 1% of FIRS, 1% for FIRS, 1% for oil and gas, 1% for mineral. If you look at all those three funds that are expected to raise the capital, we are expecting nothing less than 40 billion. So if you are taking a 1 billion for a takeoff, are you going to use 39 billion for a recurrent expenditure? I think they should have to step up. They have to step up that amount, and there will no need to have those structures. Let either Ministry of Finance or sovereign wealth funds to manage it. There's no need to either create any other board, so that there would be more paying of salaries, and money will be going through salaries and other means, and all this kind of board. Those are the things that the National Assembly are supposed to do. When you go there, when you go to such place, they collect kickback.
Thank you, Abubakar. Thank you
very much.
Thank you very much. 0913-600-0410. We're picking your calls and comments on our social media platforms. Let's hear your thoughts about what my guests have talked about today. Hello, good evening.
Hello, good evening.
Good evening. Good to have you join us. Your name and where are you calling from?
This is Florence calling from Elisan.
Okay, you're welcome, Florence.
Yeah, I want to talk about the student loan.
Please go ahead.
For me, I prefer them to use that money to keep our universities. If you say that our students will compete with students outside, if you go to most of our federal universities, they don't have good labs. They don't have all those things.
Infrastructure now.
Yes, they don't have. Those that are studying medicine or things like that, they don't have. I have a friend who is doing what do they call it? No, cut off of perfectly. The radiography. She was saying that in their school, they don't have all those equipment needed for such course. So students will come out, and when they see equipment they're supposed to use in their practicals, they will not know what to do. So for me, it's better they put our investments in order instead of this loan of a thing. Because me, I see it as a kind of enslaving some people. When they graduate after their NYS school, they start disturbing them to pay money or this and that.
Thank you.
So me, I don't like it.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Our message says, my name is Sam from Magudu. I don't see anything different. Okay, you said I don't see anything different from this 10th assembly. If the opposition cannot take the leadership of the red and green chamber, it is still going to be party government. Is it Akpabio that the president brought in that will checkmate him? Until there is a vibrant opposition to checkmate the executive, things may not change from the previous government. Thank you very much. By the way, back to the phone lines. Hello, good evening, Prince Wise.
My dearest Opeyemi, good evening to you.
Please put on the volume of your radio set, please.
I've done that immediately.
Okay.
Yeah, I've done that. You see, for the students loan, I really appreciate it. It can't be for everybody. No. We want to be able to.
Prince Wise, I think you can change your location so that we can get you very clearly.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, it's better now.
The way they put it, I really appreciate it. Some people are there now, after finishing their secondary school, they can't be able to further their education because no money. And presently, federal universities being subsidized. And to it open, no. Let the children of the poor, who share pepper, who share medicine on the street, let their children be educated at the rate of the rich men. So as it is, I support it. And those who say, no, not like this. If you finish your education, as your employer, you have to pay back. So it's not, and I just want them to handle the skill in a very polite way, in a way that Korean will never see that skill.
Thank you.
The local bank for those, the local bank for this, and let it be recorded in a flat way. Finally, the National Assembly yesterday, Opeyemi, is in order. Once they are ready to serve Nigeria, any bill that we are going the list of Nigeria is straight to the ocean.
Thank you, thank you.
To cooperate with Mr. President to make Nigeria great. Okay.
Thank you very much. I don't understand what you mean by cooperate with Mr. President, but it's okay. I mean, someone raised the issue of the quality of opposition. I think we'd certainly look into that. Maybe before the week runs out, early next week, I would get one of the opposition members to come talk to us about that. Hello, good evening.
Good evening, Opeyemi.
Former, you're welcome.
Thank you very much, and kudos to your guest.
Thank you.
Looking at the 10th assembly, both the PDP and all especially the opposition party, one of the things I discovered from when the president was having a meeting with them all, there is no sincerity with them. Looking at them, all of us that was just say that this president is very nice to, I did not see anything that will make them to challenge anything that this president is bringing to Senate. So there's no difference between the 9th assembly and this 10th assembly we are looking at it now. Because as I just said, there's a lot of debt on Nigeria. Who are the people to pay? Is it the people who are just there to enjoy themselves, making budget for themselves? But looking at it currently, this 10th National Assembly, I don't think that they will work for the favor of Nigeria. But the issue of the loan for the students, I don't think that it will work for now. Even looking at the feeding program, how many states that benefit for the feeding program? At the end of the day, some states benefited from it and some states did not benefit. And while a lot of money were being siphoned through this feeding that just ended with the last episode. So this educational thing of loaning, at the end of the day, corruption will still have its way. But the issue of appointment, 80% or 70%, we will still see in the cabinet. It's really the people that worked with them before we are still going to see.
Thank you very much, Alfoma. Barrister Bakare, we're really pressed for time now. And then, before we leave, maybe in like 2 minutes or thereabouts, the issue of public trust. We talked about the Nigeria Air conversation. We talked about the fact that the NDIC Act, it was the one that Mr. President signed was different from the one that the Senate, the legislative arms of the government approved. it's going to be very critical, especially how people trust policies being brought up by the government. There's been a lot of question on the education loan, for instance, even the electricity bill. People are saying that it's going to empower people that are loyal to the government. How do they release licenses to the GENCOs and the DISCOs and all of that? How important do you think building public trust is for any government whatsoever at every level, both at the local government level or at the federal level, the issue of public trust?
Well, trust is extremely a matter that is deficient in the Nigerian political atmosphere. Who do we trust? Who can we trust among the politicians? They wake up the next tomorrow, they move to another party. They
share the ideology.
Okay, share that. So, if we are going to go to the issue of trust, I don't trust the politician. I don't trust Akpabio. I don't trust Abbas. I don't trust because they don't do anything for the purpose of trust. They do all that they do for the purpose of the political party and their political interest. They have the opportunity to prove Nigerians wrong, but I know I'm speaking the mind of a large number of Nigerians when it comes to the issue of trust. Who can you really trust? Former President Buhari told us that under his watch, he will fight corruption. Look at the number of issue of corruption you have under Buhari's administration. Look at the number of an idea.
Mr. Bakare, for joining us on the show today. It's always my pleasure when I have your guest. He spoke. Senators announced they can only be effective. I want to appeal to you to keep a day with us tomorrow, 4 to 5 p.m. Mr. Opeyemi, the head of political desk for Guardian newspaper, will be joining us on the show, and I will also still look at the issue going forward. My name is Opeyemi Akinyode, and today is the 60th birthday of the immediate past governor of Lagos State, that's Mr. Akinwumi Ambode, and of course we wish you the very best of celebration. And again, the House have announced the vacancy for the seats for Surulere Federal Constituency 1 being declared vacant by Right Honorable Femi Gbajabiamila as he assumed his role as the Chief of Staff to Mr. President. Another politics is coming from there. My name is Opeyemi Akinyode. Thank you very much once again, Mr. Bakare, for joining us. We keep your dialogue to mainland 98.3 FM, the sound of Lagos.
You're listening to Mainland 90.